Today we're going to be diving deep into the qualities of calm, connection, pleasure and purpose. But more in particular, I'm going to be tuning into the word pleasure. I'm going to be talking about your God-given right to experience pleasure. We have been so cut off from our natural state, and the qualities that I just labeled out and expressed, they are our natural state. They are our natural state. This is when we get into a profound state of regulation and resolution within our nervous system. We start to increase our capacity to experience our natural state on a more regular basis. In the beginning, we find ourselves in a lot of tension, contraction. We feel ourselves disconnected. And it's all driven by predominantly what's been happening in our past, how we've evolved, how we've shaped and molded ourselves up to this point. And the journey really of healing is healing ourselves and stepping away from and realigning ourselves energetically, physiologically, chemically, everything going on within us. And we will start to shift the percentage. We start to come into a state where we start to experience pleasure more often. And when we are in a contracted, high activated, dysregulated state, we spur ourselves on with negative habits, trying to get that sweet release of those neurotransmitters which create those pleasurable experiences, that feeling of pleasure. And the neurotransmitters which are responsible for pleasure are serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, anandamide. We start to push ourselves into a certain degree where we try to release those, and we start to force ourselves into a place where we release those, what we could label happy hormones. I don't think happy hormones does it right. God sent neurotransmitter hormones. It is the will of the universe for us to experience those more often, and if anything, to shift into a place where we experience them continuously. So we have to let go of those beliefs that pleasure is bad, that there's somehow we're going to receive condemnation if we experience pleasure. There's these old sayings where there's like a poverty and virtue. There's a virtue in poverty. There's a virtue in poverty. You know, you can feel these like out of date, used by, date gone by, like belief systems which still permeate to this day. We still have this guilt complex of pleasure, experiencing pleasure. We feel like, how can we experience pleasure when there's so much of the world is suffering? But the world is relying on us to experience pleasure, because when in our journey of pleasure discovery, we are helping the world. We are elevating and raising the people up energetically of the people who are suffering. And that's the missing gambit. That's the real tricky thing to get our head around. That it's down to us to figure out and raise that percentage of us understanding our nervous system, of understanding how ourselves, where we're at, realigning and healing ourselves in such a way that we experience pleasure continuously. And there's varying degrees of pleasure. When we have sex and we make love, that's obviously a high scale, pleasurable moment. But this isn't really about that. That's fantastic. And what we're talking about here, when we talk about a regulated nervous system, our capacity to make love and have sex and intimacy in general is massively enhanced. But now we're talking about a backdrop, like creation has this backdrop of pleasure that we like tune into. We plug our circuits into this. Our frequency and vibration is now raised. It's almost like we're plugged into this backdrop of pleasure. So we experience it through the day in varying degrees. We could just be riding a bike, we could be walking, we could be washing up, and we have this pleasure that accompanies us all through the day. We have this feeling of calm. We have this feeling of connection. And the word connection really comes from this inner framework that we connect. And our inner connection is where our outer connection is why our outer connection is deepened. Once we start to re-establish these new pathways inwardly, energetically, physiologically, chemically, when our chemistry shifts, we are changing the relationship we have with ourselves and deepening the connection that we have with ourselves and the communication that is happening within us. Our communication is drastically different when we are pumped full of stress hormones, when we are in a deep state of contraction, when our nervous system is in a state of shutdown, is totally different to when we are plugged into that energy line, that energy pulse of life, which encourages those neurotransmitters, anandamide, endorphins, dopamine to be flooding our system. It's totally different, and our communication is totally different. And that level of connection that we experience with ourselves, we don't feel shut off anymore. We feel open, expansive, instead of disconnected and shut off and contracted. So we want to feel into the word pleasure. We want to feel into that. We want to feel okay with it. We want to feel okay with it, because if we don't feel okay with it, we'll end up pushing it away. We'll end up navigating the guilt complex when we do have it. And we'll feel like that we need something. We need to just, we could only ever experience that if we go to the gym. We can only experience that if we have sex, and that's it. We've got to cut that off. We've got to shut that down. We can kind of develop these really unhealthy patterns of behavior with the external world. But we want to be in a place where we can just experience that pleasure, that feeling all the time. Release those out-of-date belief systems which tell us that pleasure is bad, that we shouldn't be experiencing that. And just remembering what the capacity that we have within ourselves right now, the opportunity that we have to bring ourselves into a predominant state, which is our natural state. And we've convinced ourselves that stress, contraction, high rate is our natural state, but it's not. It is so not our natural state. We've forgotten our natural state. We're in a state of amnesia, and we're in this awakening. That's what our individual awakenings is all about. It's waking up to this new capacity of experience, which all stems from our subjective experience inwardly, and the changes and shifts that we make along the way, which enhance that journey. It's a journey of remembering. It's not new. It's not brand new. We've just forgotten. We fall into these cyclical patterns of amnesia as humans, individually and collectively. So I want you to know now that you have so much within you right now. Your journey of nervous system healing and regulation is eternal and infinitely ongoing at all time, always. Sending you so much love, my friends. I'm going to sign out now. I want you to feel into your experience. I want to feel into how you are now, no matter where you are right now, whether your nervous system is in a state of shutdown, whether you're in a state of fight or flight, whether you're in a state of contraction. Just know that you have the power within you to change right now. You can influence and change your chemistry, your physiology, and your energy right now. Even just knowing that sets the intention, which will help you attract in everything that you're going to need to do that. I don't even have to get into specifics. Just you setting the intention that this is not what I want, and this is now what I do want. I do want a life of pleasure and connection and calm and purpose. Sending you so much love, my friends, and I cannot wait to see you in the next video.